Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing a deep dive in two very popular hunting cartridges in North America. We've got the 308 Winchester versus the 30-06 Springfield. We're going to cut through all of the hype, all of the boomerism. We're going to really find out what both of these cartridges can do and which one might be a better option for you in your applications. Now, you go to any online forums or YouTube comment section, you see some crazy claims about 308 Winchester. Look, I really like this cartridge. It's inherently accurate. It's everywhere. You can get any gun in it. The incredible brass for it. Tons of bullet selection for it. But in today's video, we're going to really find out the true potential of a 308 Winchester, staying in safe pressures, and how it really compares to a 30-06 that's also staying in safe pressures. We're going to find out, can the 308 Winchester hang with the 30-06? Now, to start our comparison, we are going to go with probably the most popular bullet weight for 308 Winchester and fairly popular for a 30-06, the 165 grain. This one's obviously the AccuBond. I don't know if I'd recommend a 165 AccuBond in a 308, maybe depending on your barrel length if you can get enough speed for it. But speaking of speed, let's just get straight to it. Let's find out the true potential for each of these in the exact same barrel length. So how am I doing that? We're going to Gordon's reloading tool. All right, we got Gordon's reloading tool pulled up. We're going to start with 308 Winchester. Now I'm going to change it to 65,000 PSI max pressure, because that's what we're going to hand load it to. We're going to start with the 22-inch barrel. This is probably the most common barrel length. Might be even shorter nowadays, might be around a 20-inch. But the bullet we're choosing is the Nosler Ballistic Tip 165 grain. And then the powder of choice that I think I could get the most velocity out of, a 308 Winchester, is H4895. Now with a 22-inch barrel, this is going to be max velocity, probably around 2810 when you get up to 65,000 PSI. So anyone with a 22-inch barrel that claims they can get, 2950 in a 308 with a 165 grain, they're overpressure, okay? Now, to make this comparison fair, we're going to switch this to a 24-inch barrel because we're going to use a 24-inch barrel in the 30-06. How many 308 Winchesters with 24-inch barrels out there? Not a lot these days, but you can always get one custom. Max velocity, you're going to basically be around 2855, which is pretty darn good. I mean, you check out that energy, 2,984 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and check out the 30-06. Go to a new tab, and again, we're going to do with a 24-inch barrel, 65,000 PSI, same exact bullet, ballistic tip, 165 grain. We're going to use Vihtavuori N550, and we're going to basically max out at 3,035, maybe 3,040 feet per second with a 165 grain bullet. Pretty darn good performance, if you ask me, from this old darling cartridge. 3,375 foot-pounds of energy, yeah. That's darn good. 7PRC is jealous.
165 Bond Strike.
2936.
So what we're looking at here is almost a 200 feet per second advantage for the 30-06 with the same barrel length, with at least the lighter bullets in the 165 grain. All right, I'm pulling up something I haven't used in actually quite some time. We've got my ballistic table, okay? Now we're switching up the bullet. I think the 168 grain it's about as heavy as I want to go for a 308 Winchester. The specific one we're using is the ABLR with a BC of like around 525. And we're maxing out with a 24-inch barrel around 2815 feet per second. And that energy is just so good, 2957. So really beneficial to hand load a 308. Recoil, 17 foot-pounds of recoil energy in a 9-pound gun. Then I just want to see what it's doing at 400 yards. 2,158 feet per second, 1,737 foot-pounds of energy. These numbers are all at sea level, so they'll only be better when you go hunting up in the mountains. Now wind, this is an MOA with a 10 mile per hour wind, 6.77 MOA, not bad, not great. And then 28.3 inches of drop. So not too shabby, but let's go ahead and see how the 30-06 compares with the exact same bullet. All right, we got the 30-06 pulled up with the exact same bullet. The ABLR 168, pushing it at 3,005 feet per second, 3,369 foot-pounds. And then of course, in a 9-pound gun, we are gonna have more recoil, 22 foot-pounds of recoil. And then let's just go out to 400 yards. Going 2,321 feet per second, 2,010 foot-pounds of energy, so almost 300 more foot-pounds of energy at 400 yards. And then we got 24.19 inches of drop, so about 4 inches less of drop, and then just a little bit better in wind drift as well. Not a huge, maybe 1 MOA. So there is an advantage. And look, I'll just go straight to the point. If you are wanting to hunt big game, I would get a really high quality 30-06 rifle, and I would use it just for big game over a 308 Winchester. So 30-06 has a decent advantage over the 308 Winchester. I would, especially past 400 yards, you're giving about a 100-yard advantage with the same amount of energy. So what do I mean? At 500 yards, you're gonna have around 1,500 foot-pounds of energy in a 308. At 600, you have 1,500 foot-pounds for a 30-06. So a 100-yard advantage. Now, there's always people that say, you know, if you want to step up to a 30-06 from a 308, the real advantage is with the heavier bullet. So if you're going to shoot like a 190 grain or a 200 grain, and so let's go ahead and see what that realistically looks like. In GRT, loaded up the 190 ABLR with a 24-inch barrel in the 308, and we're topping out 2630 feet per second with a 190 grain. And so what does the 30-06 look like? When you do the exact same thing, 190 grain ABLR, 24-inch barrel, we're topping out 2830. So there's a little bit more of an advantage when you go up to a heavier bullet in a 30-06. It's not quite the jump I think a lot of people think. So before with the 165 grain, the 30-06 had about 180 feet per second advantage. Now with the 190 grain, it has almost roughly around 200 feet per second advantage. So not a huge difference, but it definitely is there. All right, I do really like the 308 Winchester, and I do want to talk about the advantages of shooting a 308 Winchester over a 30-06. Number one, it's a more inherently accurate cartridge. There's less recoil, and I don't know, the 308 Winchester is just the perfect sweet spot to find really good accuracy in a 30 caliber cartridge. It's just really smartly designed. There might not be a more efficient 30 caliber cartridge out there than 308 Winchester. I really don't think there is. I mean, there's a saying, I've said it a lot. Look, if you want to know if you have a good 308 Winchester rifle, load it up with a 175 grain Sierra Match King with Varget N150 H4895. If it doesn't shoot like half MOA, you have a bad gun. That's just how accurate 308 Winchesters are, and just how good the Sierra Match King is, this 175. It's just easier to shoot 308 Winchester. And look, if you're gonna limit your distance, I don't know, 200, 300, maybe 400 tops, 308 Winchester is a great cartridge for hunting. Now, if I were ever to hunt with either of these cartridges, which I definitely would, in 308 Winchester, if I was hunting deer, I think the bullet of choice for me would be the 130 grain TTSX. You know, push it hard, easily get 3,100, possibly 3,200 feet per second, depending on your barrel length with this, a 130 grain TTSX and 308 Win. Now, if I'm gonna shoot elk, I would limit my distance quite a bit, maybe to 300 yards, and I would pick a 165 or a 168 grain bullet. I think I would stick to that size bullet. I just don't think you can get enough velocity once you go over a 168 grain in a 308 Winchester. Now, when it comes to 30-06, yeah, for deer, a 130 TTSX would be a lot of fun. You know, I've pushed that 130 grain TTSX to almost 3,300 feet per second, and you really could push it over 3,300, depending on the powder. For elk, 165 grain minimum. I don't think 165 grain is ideal in a 30-06 for elk. I know I said that for 308, but the 308 is limited on velocity, where the 30-06, you can push a 180 grain, a 190 grain. You can push a 190 grain to 2,800 feet per second in a 24-inch barrel. And then with a 180 grain, you should easily be able to get over 2,800, whether you're a 22-inch barrel or 24. So I would say 180 grain to 190 for elk for 30-06. But I want to hear from you guys. I'm sure many of you have a 308 or a 30-06. Why did you pick one over the other? Or maybe you have both. Let me know in the comments. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this content, and we'll see you next time.